Dream the Impossible, well, it is the independent film we never thought we'd ever get to produce.
So Dream the Impossible is independently produced and financed by Speechless. So what started as a hobby short film making turned into a kind of serious project of commitment and passion in producing our first ever feature film. So back in 2014, when we founded Speechless, we had this idea that we wanted to produce a short documentary about a motorcycle rider. We ended up coming across a paraplegic rider that was riding against able-bodied riders in this race series. So naturally it was a case of, well, hang on a minute, that's an even more powerful story to go and do a 10-minute short about.
Tom first came across talent at Brands Hatch in 2014. When we first heard the words, we have talent skills Piggins, he's paralysed from the chest down, and he's got 2 broken legs. For us, that was it. How does that work? And we got in touch with talent and we produced The Little Person Inside.
So produced a 10-minute film, a short documentary called The Little Person Inside. We had a truly unexpected reaction to the film. It went viral worldwide. Talent ended up on Channel 9 News in Australia. That's how far it went, talking about the film.
We just thought we'd produce something as inspiring as we could with the story that we were given. We really didn't expect it to reach places that it did. So when The Little Person Inside was first put on Vimeo, it got up to around 100,000 hits in around 12 days. And it literally reached all around the world, from Germany to Finland to Australia. Talent even ended up on Channel 9 News. And we, to be honest, we just couldn't believe it. Us filmmakers, our first sort of true short, an inspiring short film that we made, how did this happen?
It's the first time we really got to see how we could reach audiences on quite a global level and kind of fulfill our vision from a heart, which is to inspire other people with our filmmaking and to make a difference, I suppose. Which is, I suppose, what every filmmaker to a degree wants to do. You've got a message you want to share.
I believe that everybody can do it. I haven't done anything special. I don't have any magical ingredients that other people don't have. Whilst I was in hospital, I had the opportunity to have a very honest conversation with the little person that lives inside me. And I feel that that person inside everybody has the power to achieve any goal that you set yourself. And you can be your greatest source of inspiration. You don't need to look to anybody else. You just need to look to the person that's inside you, because they will help you achieve absolutely anything.
So off the back of the success of that, Talman kind of told us he actually had these plans the following year to start up an entire team of disabled riders. So as though it was, you know, it wasn't incredible enough that one person was doing it, it'd be 4 of them. And Ross and I had this kind of chat, and I said, look, I know that we've never produced a feature film yet, or directed one, or we don't really know the process of how we go about producing something of that scale, but I think that we've got the life experience and the kind of filmmaking experience that we could give it a go, producing this independently and following them and producing a 60-minute film.
We were compelled to take the story further. We weren't sure if that door was open, and Talon, due to the success of the film, we said, look, I'm putting a team together, so there's going to be 4 of us disabled riders. I would love to give you the opportunity to you know, follow this journey with us. So in 2015, we started the journey with Dream the Impossible.
So shooting independently, I think, has been one of the most incredible journeys of my life, actually, in terms of learning and kind of discovering, and just there's no substitute for going and doing it with learning how something's done. They're just, you know, you'll only ever learn so much in a classroom or watching other people do it. You need to go and do it yourself, and that has absolutely been the case with DTI. So when we started, we had a few people professionally laugh at us. I mean, you know, we said, oh, we've got this idea, we're going to go independent and produce this feature film. Because that's the other thing I haven't said. But when we started this, we thought it'd be a 60-minute programme, and it was over the year that we kind of realised, I think within about 6 months of shooting, we're like, you're not going to get this story in 60 minutes and do it justice. And that's when it evolved to a 90-minute one.
So in the early months of 2015, we started some planning. We would literally spend 3 to 4 days at a time planning how are we going to create this film? What's it about? What's the story? What are we trying to cover? Is it a spiritual journey, a mental journey, an emotional? Are we focusing on family areas within this film? What is it? So we'd literally spend weeks at a time focusing on what the core of this film was.
When I was paralysed, I had an experience of seeing my life flash in front of my eyes.
I think from day one we knew that this wasn't a story about racing. It really, really wasn't. It was a story about if you go through hell, what are you going to do to get back to the other side? What does it mean to you as a person to go through hell and come out on top? You know, the human mind is incredibly powerful, but it's the spirit that really drives that forward. And we really wanted to encapsulate and find out what that message is, the soul it's speaking to that person, and try and relay that to the audiences that are now watching this film.
We all have this resource of energy, of power inside us that we can tap into, that we can use to keep us moving forwards, even when we have these life-changing traumas, these life-changing accidents.
Producing a film independently is really, really hard work. We had a lot of fun, and it was an absolutely incredible journey I'd recommend to anyone, but it is exhausting, absolutely exhausting. There's a lot of elements that we had kind of overlooked, or not overlooked, but weren't aware of because it's our first feature, and there's all these things that you discover along the way, everything from financing right way through to distribution. But I think the great thing about us producing and financing this film independently is that we didn't have to answer to any commissioners or third-party financiers. It was Speechless Films money, and we had full creative control over the project, which meant we were allowed to grow, make mistakes and learn from them, and we were allowed to tell the story that we wanted to tell from our hearts as filmmakers.
At the time of shooting Dream the Impossible in the early months, we were really wondering how we're actually going to finance a feature film, because it can cost into the tens of thousands, and we really weren't sure how we were going to do it. There's a little voice inside each and every one of us, as Talon has said, in the little person inside. And Tom and I spoke, you know, very quietly to each other, how are we going to do it? And it was really, as much as we'd love to have an outside source come in with funds, if you have someone else coming in and putting their paint on that canvas, it's going to be a very different painting. And we really wanted to just put our own colour and depth into this film, this painting, as it were. So most of the film that we created has been completely done in-house, but there are a few areas that we just couldn't do, and one of them was music.
You can't just put some stock music on your film and hope it will work. As I said, prior to this, when we'd done shorts and stuff, it was possible that you could do that and make a film kind of work.
So when we were in the editing suite with the film, we really thought we could use stock music, and it just wasn't working. You know, we couldn't tie in any of the undertones or the underscores to build into sort of the higher stuff for the race sequences. I mean, there's some beautiful music out there, but unless you have something to bind it together, it's just not going to work.
We needed a bespoke score, one that would really kind of enhance and complement the themes and emotions going on in the story.
So we found a composer, the gentleman's name's Steve Alexander. He's worked on some Hollywood films, and he is one of the former drummers from Duran Duran, and an incredible guy. What this guy can do with music and composing, it's just, yeah, brilliant. Can't thank him enough.
Amazing musical knowledge, and a really, really great guy to have working with us. came on board, really became a part of the team and the production process once we got into post. And I think the music is a major, major part of bringing the film to life.
If I come last in every race, I'm still the first person out there that's an amputee. I'm just doing something that I never would have thought I could have done.
Speechless, philosophy is a massive part of everything we do. It's a massive part of our lives personally and of the company. So I think we were able to approach it with quite a sensitive mindset and tell quite a caring and compassionate story about what those guys have been through and are going through and living.
Speechless Films is born on the back of philosophy. It doesn't matter whether it's ancient or modern. There's nothing you can't not learn from the books of philosophy and great wisdom, and that without putting it into your life. I want to share a quick story. It was we were at Brands Hatch. It was October, and this gentleman's come up to Tom and he goes, "I've been looking for you guys for months. Did you produce A Little Person Inside?" And, "Yeah, we did." He goes, "Well, I watched that film," and he goes, "I cried." And Tom and I kind of looking a little bit, "Really?" He goes, "I cried." He goes, "At that point in my life, I didn't have any vision, didn't have any purpose." And he goes, "I just didn't know what to do." And he goes, "I watched that film." And he goes, "And I cried. I suddenly had this vision and this purpose." And he goes, and he was inspired. And at that moment, he goes, I had, for me personally, had goosebumps all over my body. And that is what I wanted to create. And for one guy who's come up and told us that personally, if we can share that across with this film to as many people as possible, that if you don't give it a go, you're never going to know what you're capable of. You truly don't know what you're capable of until you've been put to the test.
As I'm sure you'll know if you've watched the film, there's some very sensitive stories there. Some of the guys have gone through some very, very traumatic life experiences. So for us, with no prior experience working with those kind of sensitive stories, it was quite a learning experience and quite a challenge coming in and telling those stories. There's that very fine balance between capturing the story you need as a filmmaker that will entertain and educate your audiences and tell a story, but also making sure you don't pry too deeply into someone's lives and you show respect as well.
The first interview that we shot for Dream the Impossible was with Steve Jones. Tom and I were on our way down there, driving through sort of the New Forest and on our way down to the coast, you know, rattling on about what our problems were in life and this and that and the other. And then by the time we had met with Steve for the very first time, interviewed him, found out his story, how him and Claire both have dealt with their challenges. Driving home, I think for the first 20 minutes we didn't speak to each other, and then I think we looked at each other kind of in awe of the story we'd been humbled to capture. You know, there really were no words. It's like there's nothing wrong with my life. I tell you what, I'm going to go home tonight and I want to count my blessings.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky. If it's the worst of the whole injury is being in a wheelchair after everything that I've had, then it's not that bad. It isn't that bad at all. And there's a lot of people in a worse off position than myself.
I think working on a story like Dream the Impossible and working with the team that are in that film, you wouldn't be human if you didn't come away from that affected some way personally. And when I say affected, I don't mean like saddened necessarily. I mean, you know, humbled, inspired, and grateful. You know, you come away with a gratitude for your own life and what you have got, and you see what other people are going through and putting up with, and what other people are achieving in the face of massive adversity.
You don't get to spend a year with a team like that and have you change you inside and out and have a completely different view and outlook on life.
You know, every time we came away from one of the pre-rec interviews, or the personal ones at the guys' houses and stuff outside of a racetrack where it's quite intimate and quite sensitive kind of stories you're going through, you come away, yeah, humbled, very humbled, very grateful for what you've got, and I don't want to overuse the word, but you know, inspired. We didn't just follow a team for a year and film everything going on. I think we became a part of a story, and for that season that we followed those guys, they let us into their lives and we felt like we became a part of a team when we followed them. And I don't think we'd have got the story we did and the personalities we did on camera had we not become effectively friends. And that's the thing that we've learned as filmmakers. It's a very delicate line between personal and professional with documentary. But I think when you're working with I think when you're working on stories like this in documentary, there's only so far you can stay away from it. If you really want to tell a compelling story and you want to tell an authentic story, you have to become, I guess, personally involved, emotionally and mentally. Always keep that professional edge, that professional line, and maintain that, but you've got to let yourself into it as well.
So the little person inside, that was, for me, as the producer and interviewing Talon, I'd never really touched a sensitive story like that. And then being able to do it with 4 riders and the team and hearing all those stories. There's a certain line that I know you have to be professional in, and you don't want to overstep that mark, but you really do step into the unknown. It's like doing a bungee jump. You want to do it, and then once you do, it's incredible because there's a gain and a trust that you share with each other. Don't let the fears in life stop you from doing something you truly want to do, because they're not real.
We still have contact with everyone in the team, but everyone's going off and doing their own incredible things now. It's amazing to see how well everyone is doing off the back of thinking that, you know, they just come together for this, to create this team, you know, for a season that we followed and we have the privilege of capturing and being a part of.